Hit him with it, Ice.
Bro, it's
You're so happy.
From where? From what angle? I got shot through a wall. For gamers, the quality of your internet connection will impact your in-game performance more than any mouse, keyboard, or even the highest tier gaming chair could. If your enemy always seems to see you first, or you're rubber banding across the map, or you're positive you made it around that corner before you got shot, you may have serious issues with your internet connection. So what is there to do? The first suggestion is to always switch from Wi-Fi to a wired connection. But if you've already done that, what other options do you have? Are you gonna pack up and move to the nearest data center so you can get the lowest ping possible? Are you gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your own private fiber optic line?
I had to pay a lot of money for it.
Or is there a better, more practical option for the everyday gamer? Well, that's what Haste would like you to think. Hi everyone, my name is Isaac and I'd like to thank you for checking out my video. Before I begin, there are two things you must know. First, this video is not sponsored by Haste. Haste is not paying me to make this video. In fact, I've actually been paying for Haste for the past year. But I recently got an email saying that I needed to update my payment information, and it made me think, is this service really worth it? The second thing you must know is that if you're researching the results of Haste, you have likely seen the video by Battle Nonsense. And while I have a great respect for Chris and his channel, especially in his netcode analysis of the new Call of Duty, there is one major flaw in his Haste video that I'm going to address later. So what exactly is Haste? Founded in 2014 by Tarek Mirza, Haste is an internet optimization software made by gamers for gamers. You see, Mirza is just like us. He's a competitive gamer always looking for an edge against the competition and is never satisfied with his connection to the game server. The main difference between us and Mirza is that he has over 20 years of web-based software development experience to do something about the problem. He set out to develop a way to get better, faster, and more stable connection to game servers. This is a much more realistic claim than WT Fast, which states they will help you experience online gaming without lag. I mean, let's be honest, there's always going to be some degree of lag if you're not in a LAN party. So fast forward to today, Haste now supports over 20 games, including all your major esports titles, but unfortunately, Haste is only available in the US and on PC at this time. So how does this all work? Well, from the ground up, the Haste team built their custom network infrastructure, including purchasing loads of bandwidth, all the fiber optic links, mesh network of relay servers, and more. They then developed a network software to run on top of their custom infrastructure. This software comes packed with all the techie jargon from dynamic route allocation and full-blown multipathing, and even, this is actually important, a foundation for an anti-DDoS feature coming in the near future. Finally, they made their technology available to everyone through a simple software install. This software launches automatically every time you start your computer and stays minimized in your system tray, ready and waiting for you to begin your gaming. You can run network stability tests through their software, but we decided to ignore those numbers for these tests and based our research solely off of in-game network stats. So enough with story time, let's get on to the results. So my method for testing this was to test 5 separate games, and then I would take an average ping with Haste enabled and then Haste disabled. To be clear, I got the average by playing 5 separate rounds of one game with Haste enabled. I would then go through and disable Haste completely and then play 5 more rounds with Haste disabled. I would record the results using the in-game network stats, not using any of Haste data, average that information out, and then I have my results. Fortunately, I had some friends from my community and my stream that were willing to help me out. So we have data from New York, New Mexico, and then from myself in Southern California. Now, when looking at these graphs, there's a few things to note. First off, red is showing the stats with Haste disabled, and blue is showing the stats with Haste enabled. And of course, ping, or milliseconds to get to the server and back, it's always better to have lower ping. So for our New Mexico test, we can see that Blackout only saved about 5 milliseconds of time. But with Heroes of the Storm, we have a minus 19 milliseconds. Overwatch, we have a minus 28 milliseconds. PUBG, minus 21 milliseconds. And then Fortnite, a whopping minus 34 milliseconds saved on average by having Haste enabled. Moving on to our New York test, we actually see a Haste failure. Starting down at the bottom this time, the tester in New York marked a 29 millisecond increase when playing Overwatch using Haste. Fortunately for Haste, that seems to be an anomaly. If you look at PUBG, he saved 8 milliseconds, and then on Fortnite, he's on the opposite end of the spectrum. He saved 49 milliseconds on average by using Haste, and then Hunt Showdown, he saved an average of 5 milliseconds. Finally, we have my tests here in California. So for CSGO, I noted a minus 2 millisecond using Haste. For Overwatch, I noticed actually a plus 1 millisecond by having Haste enabled. Fortnite was minus 7, Blackout was minus 11, and then PUBG was minus 2. Now for me, I was actually kind of disappointed. These results seemed a little lackluster. I originally bought Haste when I was living in Texas, and I thought I remembered a lot better results. But now that I think about it, living in Southern California, I'm practically holding hands with all of the servers. So when you see people from New York or from especially New Mexico or these other more rural areas, it makes sense that they're receiving the benefit of internet pathway optimization through Haste. That being said, I did notice a big benefit of Haste for 2 games. PUBG and Blackout, I noticed significantly less packet loss. Now that's not something we could measure with every single game, and it's not really as impactful as ping, but I definitely felt a lot smoother gameplay. Now these 2 games are notorious for having pretty bad netcodes, so Haste was actually really helpful there. Before I get on to my final verdict, I want to go back to Battle Nonsense. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a fundamental flaw with his video, and it actually wasn't with his video. It was with his community misinterpreting what he was actually saying. When I scrolled through the comments, I saw so many things about scams, placebo effect, snake oil, it doesn't actually help. But that's not what Battle Nonsense, that's not what Chris was actually saying. If you listen to what he says here,
so, Haste, Outfox, WT Fast and similar services are absolutely able to lower your lag, latency variation and packet loss, but only if they can provide you with a better, faster path to the server than your internet service provider can.
He's telling you that there is a chance to improve your ping, to improve your internet connection. It just didn't help him specifically. Kind of how like my internet connection wasn't helped that much living in Southern California. What he does say, however, is this.
So the only way for you to find out if these services will help you is by using them. Luckily you can test them for free, so I want to encourage you to try them out and see how they work for you.
So the only way to tell whether or not Haste will truly help your internet connection, your gaming performance, is to give them a try yourself. Now I originally was going to wrap my video up right around this point, but upon putting this video together and having all these results, I personally reached out to Haste to ask their opinion. It turns out they have very much the same philosophy as myself and Battle Nonsense. They just want people to give it a try. They even sent out their talking points and said specifically, hey, don't lie about anything. If you don't use the product, don't say you use it. Just encourage people to give their service a try. So with that in mind, I decided to partner with Haste. I've always loved the performance of their service, but their philosophy is what really pushed me over the edge. They genuinely just want people to have a great gaming experience, and they want to share their service with the world. And so moving forward, what I've done is I've got an exclusive Haste link that you all can use to try a 14-day free trial of Haste Pro. Now during that time, I want you guys to all go over to my Discord channel and put in your results. I'm really curious to know, obviously be vague about your location, but let me know how successful Haste was for you. Because after all, you have nothing to lose from trying out Haste. Well, except for losing high ping, and I think we're all okay with that. Even if you were to have similar results as our friend in New York, who had high ping in Overwatch but low ping in Fortnite, you can disable individual games in the Haste software for overall best results. You see, there are too many variables between your location, your ISP, the game server's location to know for sure whether or not Haste will work for you. So the only way to know whether or not you're missing out on lower ping or not is to give it a try with the trial. And all right, guys, that wraps it up for me. Make sure to use my code if you are going to try out that Haste trial. If you're from the EU or maybe a console gamer, I'm sorry it's not going to work out for you yet. But regardless of whether or not you use my code here today, I would really encourage you to hit that subscribe button. We make great content for anything gaming, technology, gear related, and I really think you'll find yourself at home here. Until the next one, guys, see ya.